How's it going, everybody? I'm Lewis and we've got a new poll from the Old School RuneScape team, so let's go ahead and vote in this poll. So, this is Old School Content Poll 37, Skill Cape Perks. If you want to know what's being offered in this poll, I'm going to provide a link to my dev blog video at the end of this video. In that video, I go through everything that's being offered, and I also provide some commentary on some of the ideas. I'll try and provide as much detail as I can on each of these questions, but if I haven't done that in this poll video, then it's likely that I've done that in the dev blog video. So, question 1. Should skill capes be given perks as described in Content Poll 37's developer blog? These perks give capes practical uses around the game. Now, like I said in the dev blog video, I like the idea of giving skill cape perks, and some of them that they suggested are really good. But some of them I just really dislike, so I can't actually vote yes for saying I want the ones described in the dev blog. So I'm going to have to go ahead and vote no. Next, question 2. Should the special attack of the abyssal dagger be given a 25% increase in accuracy? Now, this question wasn't on the dev blog, and I just saw a comment on the Old School RuneScape forum saying that they added it because the abyssal dagger buff that was recently polled got 74.7%, insanely close to passing, but it didn't pass. Clearly people wanted some kind of change to it, but not enough people like that particular change. Just a recap of what the special attack of the abyssal dagger is. You hit twice in quick succession, just like a dragon dagger. When you do this, you'll have 15% reduced damage. However, if your first hit deals any damage, so will the second. Effectively, it's an all-out weapon. You have a lower chance of hitting something high, but if you do hit something, then you hit double. As for giving the abyssal dagger a 25% increase in accuracy, I don't really like that idea. Especially because it's an all-out weapon. The way I see it is, you should reduce your damage and accuracy for the chance of doubling your damage. So I'm going to go ahead and vote no. Next, question 3. Should the max cape be able to consume existing top tier capes? This will change the stats of the max cape to match those of the cape that was consumed. If skill cape perks pass, it will not be possible to use the skill cape perks of the max cape after a cape has been consumed by it. So you can't have a max cape with all the perks and a fire cape, it's either one or the other. Now, like I discussed in yesterday's dev blog, I don't want that in game, simply for the fact I don't like the idea of having your items being consumed by it. If I want to use a fire cape, I'm going to use a fire cape. If I want to show off my max cape, I'm going to show off my max cape. I don't like the idea of having to have both at the same time. Next, question 4. Should fishing spots containing swamp eels be added to the swamp in Zalandra? Swamp eels will be a source of Zora scales, requiring 87 fishing to catch and 72 cooking to extract the scales. This is something I've been a little bit unsure about. Clearly, getting more Zora scales is something that's required for the economy. However, having a non-combat way of getting them, I don't really like the idea of. But when I try and think of other ways of doing it, potentially snakelings that you can kill, or maybe a hunter creature that you can hunt, fishing spots to get swamp eels is probably one of the better ideas. So I'm actually going to go ahead and vote yes on that. Next, question 5. Should the monster examine spell be expanded to show the stats and attack and defense modifiers that a monster has? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I believe the monster examine spell is a bit useless at the moment, and if it had a little bit more information on it, then more people will use it. Potentially we could also get something on the monster examine spell for Iron Men to check if someone else has damaged a creature that they're about to attack. Because I know that many Iron Men have been wanting that sort of feature for a while. But that's something for another poll. Next, question 6. Should the appearance of mining rocks, such as iron, coal, and mithril, be reverted to how they originally appeared between 2003 and 2007? Now, in Old School RuneScape, we've got a large variety of rocks. I would say most of them have this original appearance between 2003 and 2007. I can only think of a few places where the newer rocks are. For example, the Lumbridge mines. And personally, I like having both in game. It gives it a little bit more variety. Having just one is just a little bit boring. So I'm going to vote no to that. I kind of fear that they've worded this in a way that if this fails, they're just going to update all of them to be the rockier ones as opposed to the original ones. But we'll see when it comes to the results. Next, question 7. Should the spawn time of the Cowfight Queen be reduced from 150 seconds to 30 seconds? Now, I've not really done any Cowfight Queen in my time in RuneScape, but I'm going to go ahead and vote yes because I think that if I'm going to kill it, I kind of want it to be a little bit quicker when it respawns, and there are a lot of things such as the desert tasks that require you to kill quite a lot of Cowfight Queens. Next, question 8. Should the cost of the Zamorak Godsword special attack be reduced from 60% to 50%? Now I'm getting a little bit fed up of all of these polls to special attacks. However, thinking it through, I think that this is quite a good balanced update. Not many people use the Zamorak Godsword. I believe it's probably the least used Godsword in game. Part of me wants to say it's been in Old School RuneScape and the other RuneScape for years and no one's had any major balancing issues with it. But seeing as the Bando's Godsword has now been reduced from 60 to 50%, which at one point was one of the most common Godswords to use, and the Sara and Armadale Godswords are very useful, I think giving the Zamorak Godsword something so people will use it is quite a good idea. Moving on to question 9. Should a button be added to the Grand Exchange and the Grand Exchange history interfaces that allows you to switch between the two? Now I don't really see any major benefits to this, apart from if you accidentally click the history option instead of the main Grand Exchange option. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes to that. Next, question 10. Should a completely black area be made accessible to allow players to take screenshots without backgrounds? An option will be added to the disc of returning to access the area. Now that sounds kind of useful. It can be a bit of a pain if you want to find an area in Old School RuneScape to take a nice screenshot. The main issue I have with this update is the option's going to be on the disc of returning. Sure, it makes sense because there was the black hole back in the day, but the disc of returning is a holiday item we get from summer events. It's not an item that everyone has, and it's not particularly easily accessible. Sure, it's tradable and they give out a lot when it is summer, but that doesn't mean everybody has one. That being said, I am going to vote yes because I do think it'll be a nice little update. It's just a pain that it is on that disc of returning. Next, question 11. The button found in the bank interface that deposits all worn items is often misclicked. Should it be moved to help prevent this? I'm actually going to go ahead and vote no to that. I don't think I've ever misclicked the deposit all worn items option. If you are someone that's regularly doing this, then you should just teach yourself not to be misclicking things. It's not particularly a hard concept to grasp. Next, question 12. Should a toggle be added to disable the movement of the screen during fishing trawler to prevent seasickness? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I think that would help the accessibility of the game a lot. In fact, I think that would help the accessibility of the game that much that if they did that without polling it, I wouldn't actually be that bothered. Next, question 13. Should the examine text of all keys in game let you know what the key is for? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. That's going to be very useful, especially because everyone stores keys and they have no idea what a key is for. Next, question 14. Should a price check option be added to looting bags and the trade screen? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. That sounds quite useful if you're doing some looting or you're doing some trading. Question 15. Should the Slayer experience received upon killing the Cowfight Queen and Vishen reflect the total hit points of both forms rather than just the second? Now when I first did the devblog video, I was thinking this could change the Slayer XP you get from these bosses. But I think the fact that because it's got all of those hit points, it should be taken into account when you get the Slayer experience. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes on that. Next, question 16. Should a ban call button be added to the fishing trawler reward interface? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. When I did some fishing trawler recently, I got quite annoyed with that reward interface. Question 17. Should the Eledonist statuette in Nardar restore run energy to 100% when used? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I was a little bit unsure when I first read that question, but when I checked the other things that the Eledonist statuette does, I thought that it kind of suited it, because it restores things like your stats and your prayer. And finally, question 18. Should the rate at which you can gather seaweed from the seaweed nets found in Piscatoris be increased? I'm also going to go ahead and vote yes. I was unaware of these for a long time now, but now I know about them, I think it's quite good to get a small increase from the seaweed you get there. Let's go ahead and vote, and we'll have a look at the results of this poll. So far, we've had 8,827 votes. 92.3% want Skillcape perks described in the latest developer blog. 81.1% want the special attack of the abyssal Dagger to be given a 25% accuracy increase. 77.3% want the max cape to be able to consume existing top tier capes to be able to match the stats of those capes. 83.6% want fishing spots that contain swamp eels to be added to the swamp in Zelandra, which will allow you to catch swamp eels and harvest silver scales from them. 90.9% want the monster examine spell to be expanded to show a lot more information. 78.6% want the appearance of mining rocks to be consistent throughout the entire game, so they're that older 2003 to 2007 look. 81.8% want the spawn time of the Cowfight Queen to be reduced from 150 seconds to 30 seconds. 82.8% want the Zamorak Godsword special attack to be reduced from 60% to 50%. 87.1% want a button to be added to the Grand Exchange and the Grand Exchange history interfaces that allows you to switch between the two. 78.4% want a black area to be made accessible to players to take screenshots without backgrounds. To get there, there'll be an option on the disc of returning. 52.8% want the deposit or worn items button to be moved in the bank interface. 76.9% want a toggle to be added to disable movement of the screen during the fishing trawler mini game. 92.4% want the examine text of all keys in game to let you know what the key is for. 86.7% want price check to be added to the looting bag and the trade screen. 91% want the Slayer experience from the Cowfight Queen and Vishan to reflect their total hit points rather than just the hit points of the second form. 89.5% want a Bankle button to be added to the fishing trawler reward interface. 85.7% want the Aladdin statuette in Nardar to restore your run energy to 100% when it's used. And 78% want the rate at which you gather seaweed in the seaweed nets in Piscatoris to be increased. So that was an interesting poll. I don't think anything failed apart from the moving the worn all items button in your bank interface. Everything else got something over 75%. Most of it was actually 80% or more, and there was quite a few 90% plus. And you know that if it's something that's over 90%, the community really like it. Obviously I voted no to some of these things, especially some of the first questions. However, things such as the skill cape perks, I kind of hope that they'll review and say, hang on, this skill cape perk's a bit rubbish, so we'll improve it soon. For example, I really dislike the Herblore Cape perk. It could be improved so much more. For example, having the chance of doing 2 potions or cleaning 2 herbs at once. If you've not voted in this poll yet, please make sure you go ahead and vote. This is a community game, and the game is nothing without us voting in the polls. What do you think about this poll? Let me know in the comments below. Do you also find it interesting that all but one of them are currently passing? If you want to watch the latest Old School RuneScape update, please click here for the Abyssal Bludgeon buff. And if you want to watch the dev blog for this poll, please click here. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and share, and if you want to keep up to date with the Old School RuneScape updates, dev blogs and polls, please subscribe. I've been Lewis, thanks for watching, goodbye.